they're the people that I take money from. So my hands are indelibly stained because to support my family, I take money from that company.
This phone is made by some up people that do some up in some up countries to get all the product inside here. Do I not use a phone?
Let's do some disclaimers first. I need to do some disclaimers before we touch this subject. I think it's really important. First things first, I was a former employee at ESL, at Turtle Entertainment. I was hired to work in Cologne, and it was some of the best 4 years of my life. It changed my life. ESL giving me an opportunity, and some people at the company who saw some potential in me and brought me out there, literally taught me how to cast. It changed the direction of my life forever, and it's some of my favorite years. For all the problems that company had, it was like a dream. It was like they had casters in there full time, and I did cast like a few games a week or whatever. So like I have very fond memories of that experience being there. And I was an ex-employee, not anymore, but just want to make that clear. I still have friends at the company. Secondly, we're going to be talking about where the money comes from in esports. And I think it's a really important discussion to have, and it's not being had enough. And a lot of consumers of esports products don't fucking understand this, and they need to. So we're going to talk about that. But what you need to know, I take money from Activision Blizzard to feed my family. I take money from a company that in between sessions of kowtowing to the Chinese government and acknowledging their one China policy, the abhorrent thing that is, and, making apologies to them for any offense possibly caused while they put Muslims in internment camps and commit multiple human rights atrocities. In the meantime, Activision Blizzard likes to fucking assault their staff, their members of female staff, and then try and cover it up by executives. They're the people that I take money from. So my hands are indelibly stained because to support my family, I take money from that company. So we're going to be talking about where money comes from, and there is just no moral equivalency. The fact of the matter is, I am someone sat here right now telling you where my money comes from. It stains my hands as much as anybody else. Let's not pretend that China is any better than the fucking Saudi Arabia, okay? But I'm still going to say this because this is a discussion that needs to be had. This is really important. So, yeah, you could justifiably say, well, this fucking guy's taking Blizzard money and he's shitting on us. But, by the same token, I also worked at ESL. I worked for this company. In this company, I was there when they were acquired by MTG, when they laid off all these people. So I'm probably pretty uniquely capable of giving perspective on this particular topic, at least outside of the business sense, but more of like I was fucking there. I saw how this company worked. Let's get out of the way. Scott, why don't you fucking bring us in with a primer to this very important subject?
I mean, I don't have any huge disclaimers like you, but I freelanced for all the people you mentioned one way or another. And I did my corpo gigs for Coca-Cola and the IOC and FIFA and So, and had to make these decisions on how you get paid and what you take money from all the time as a freelancer. So, sure. Yeah, let's get into this. So obviously the news drops yesterday that ESL and FACEIT are sold to a Saudi-backed group for $1.5 billion, as this says. That was the Saudi royal family PIF fund that actually bought them, very directly tied. It's called the Savvy Gaming Group is what they're now officially called, but it's the Savvy Group, I think, that is the PIF fund.
Yeah. I mean,
but they've formed this
subsidiary.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's a subsidiary of it's Saudi government money. It basically comes directly from them. So let's just make that clear. There are a couple of layers of abstraction here, but FACEIT and ESL were very transparent when they said where this money comes from, right? It is Saudi Arabian government money. They are taking their money from oil and trying to turn it into future money, into esports money. That is what the PIF does. That's what they're doing, right? Let's just establish that, Scott.
Yes. They are diversifying and this has been ongoing. This is not the first thing. They own football team. They're involved in F1. Again, they're diversifying their funds, right? Some would call it sports washing. Some would call this esports washing. And
it's literally sports washing.
And if you're not familiar with that term, it's basically the idea that you're taking this money, you're using it to wash your reputation with something else. So you're washing your shitty reputation in sports. Look at that. We do this cool shit in sports. Don't look over here. And again, this is their first chunk, and maybe not even their first, because who knows what they own behind the scenes that we don't know about. But they're obviously very publicly behind this fund. This is not anything hidden. There's no obfuscation here. $1 billion for ESL, $500 million for FACEIT. And rumor has it they might not be done in our space, but we'll see. Just like they say they're not done in the entertainment space in general. I am still trying to process a little bit about this and how I personally feel as a human. All right. I don't do any work for any of them. I'm not a freelancer anymore. But I was one of the ones that when ESL and FACEIT, for example, were taking money from CSGO skins, total scam fucking skin site, and they were being basically extorted by, well, we won't, if we basically they had these TOs by the balls, because if they didn't put the action on their website, no one watched. Like, they actually affected the numbers in the early days of CSGO. And ESL and FACEIT literally had to put the logo behind them, or they wouldn't put they wouldn't put the fucking the matches on their website. Therefore, no one would watch. I literally said, I'm not doing your shit anymore. This is bullshit. You can't, because these are not legitimate. This is not Rivalry or Pinnacle or legitimate adult-based gaming sites, gambling sites, if you will, gambling, interchangeable in that world. These were scam fucking skin bullshit sites, right? That's what I was very much against. I made a stand. I'm like, I'm not working your events. This is bullshit. You know, and they all reached out in private and said, Scout, we're being blackmailed. We literally, if we don't put it behind us, FACEIT especially, if we don't put the logo behind us, 50,000 less people will watch the fucking match. We have to. And I was like, well, fuck. So, and I've made stands throughout my career over various things. Nothing I made a stand against was something like what Saudi Arabian's government is accused of, and the atrocities and all the shit that the world gives them crap for, right? So, and I don't work for them. We don't get hired. We take no ESL money around here. I mean, but Jason and I had this conversation, you know, would we? If Ralph called me up right now and said, hey, we'll give you an ESL Pro League, you want it? We would charge them a fucking shitload, because we got bills to pay and we got families to feed. So we probably would take ESL's money, right? I don't know. You take, you know, so big news, right? Definitely in the world of Counter-Strike, they own the ecosystem. And so there's all sorts of conversations about this, right? And you do have people that are making stands that are saying, you know, I won't work for them. I won't do this. I won't do that. We in Counter-Strike and League of Legends both had a little bit of Saudi Arabia drama in advance of this. Blast announced a big NEOM sponsorship, and LEC announced a big NEOM sponsorship. Do you want to explain to the people at home what NEOM is? Am I saying that right? NEOM. This city in the desert that, again, same money, same people, same thing.
Yeah, again, it was a Saudi Arabian government initiative that would have resulted. Yeah, it was a project, right? An infrastructure project that they labeled it as, which they didn't mention would involve the displacement of like a very large amount of like, you know, local native people from that space. So there were a lot of things that were very detestable about it. Not just because the Saudi Arabian government Saudi Arabia follows Sharia law, where like it's illegal to be homosexual, transgender. I mean, they execute people. There was a mass execution there not so long about Jamal Khashoggi, a fucking dissident and a journalist, a dissident against the Saudi Arabian government, was assassinated inside the fucking consulate and dismembered. This guy, like, this is not this government. And look, credit to Richard, because obviously Richard Lewis on the Four Horsemen yesterday, they really approached this issue. They got there first, and they really nailed this. Their values do not line up with our Western values at all. They are incompatible. This is quoting Richard, and I absolutely agree with him. You are taking money from a government who tortures people, who incarcerates them for things that we would let people live as anybody else. They fucking whip people, all the rest, right? This is not, by our standards, by our understanding of morality, this is evil. I mean, and to be honest, so is what the Chinese government does. So let me just make that very clear. I think this is the problem with it. Here's old Ryan at RBM, king of memes. I guess he ratioed the PIF. And again, he's talking about this. Can you release details about the assassination of, I didn't know he was American. I thought he was Saudi Arabian. But Yeah, a journalist and dissident was assassinated at the fucking order of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. So this is what we're dealing with. This is where your esports money comes from. This is where the money that props up your fucking esports broadcasts and leagues comes from. For Riot, they're owned by Tencent. Activision Blizzard are, we already know this coming. I mean, fucking hell. We even have to, we run esports events that are sponsored by the US Army, the fucking Air Force, and all, you know. I mean, they recently were resolved the news after killing civilians, I think, with the drone strike, right? Like, this is where, and you know, this is where all the fucking esports money comes from. This is the worst part about this, is that this is where the money in esports comes from. Because you know what? We don't collect it from the viewers. How much does it cost you motherfuckers to watch this or any of your events? You know what I mean? The money, esports isn't sustainable because we don't make money off broadcast rights. We can't make money off broadcast rights because there's a fucking monopoly. Overwatch League managed to shake Twitch down for a decent amount of money to have the league on their channel. That got put to a stop pretty quickly. A big part of their revenue generation came from selling broadcast rights. This is how traditional sports fund themselves, with broadcast rights. This does not exist in esports because there is one fucking platform and they are not willing to pay for the content because they know you're going to come to them anyway. And anytime anybody brings up the idea of pay-per-view esports content, the vast majority of people lose their fucking minds. So where do the esports broadcasts go for revenue? They go to VC. They go to, you know, the next person that's willing to buy an ESL, to buy an Activision Blizzard, to buy a FACEIT. And this money never comes from a good place. It comes from Russian oligarchy. It comes from Saudi Arabian oil money. It comes from fucking bootlicking the Chinese government. You name it. And without this VC, without these injections of capital, without, you know, taking ESL and selling it to Modern Times Group, and then they tried to sell it to Do You, and that didn't work out, and then Modern Times Group managed to finally sell it here after the merger. Where does the money come from to run any of this shit, Scott? Like, you know, Rivalry obviously are a part of Do Not Peak, right? And as you pointed out, legitimate adult gaming site, right? Like, where the fuck does the revenue come from in esports? Everyone's like, oh, just make more money, just make more money. Esports is notorious for being very poor at and game developers are known for being very poor at converting their players to esports viewers. I mean, I don't know how people expect things to be any different. I'm glad people took a stand for the Neon thing. This money that bought ESL comes from the same people.
Yeah.
And Mick Adesanya made it very clear on the Four Horsemen that, listen, this is an acquisition, but they've promised to stay out of our affairs, and we're able to run autonomously. We're able to be ESL and FACEIT merged together without their influence. They're not pushing this marketing onto us. They're not forcing us to push their agenda. So, okay, for how long? They own 100% of the ESL and FACEIT merger. It's not hard for you to sit there in a quiet account and be like, oh, you guys just do your thing, until a few years down the track, you're like, actually, we got this infrastructure project that we're trying to push. Perhaps you can help us, you know, generate some good PR for this.
We'd like you to,
you know, and like, you know, you guys should,
we'd like you to move the Pro League to our country this season.
I'm just saying, like, there's nothing. I believe Michel Adesanya when he fucking says that. I do, because I don't think that they needed MTG owned ESL. They were trying to sell ESL.
Yes.
By the way, MTG also owned DreamHack. So now DreamHack, ESL, and FACEIT are all owned by money that comes from the Saudi Arabian government. And even if they can tell you that they're able to operate autonomously, there is no guarantee that will always be the case. And if these people with this money wanted to enact their own agenda via ESL or by FACEIT, they could probably do so. Would there be backlash? Sure, but they could definitely fucking try. But where else is the money going to come from? It's well known, Scott, that all of these esports projects bleed money. They don't fucking make any money because they won't try and monetize their audience. And Twitch doesn't help them monetize the audience because they don't pay a cent to have the esports broadcast on their platform. So I don't know what they're supposed to do. I don't fuck. I know that League of Legends, you think they make money from broadcast rights? They don't sell broadcast rights. They have to rely on other forms of revenue. And I would suggest, Scott, that their esports endeavors don't make them a fucking cent.
I mean, definitely marketing spend. They're losing. It's a spend. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. So, and again, you do bring up the Four Horsemen, again, which is Thorin, Richard Lewis, and Monty. They had Mick on, FACEIT guy. Good.
It was one of the most
Good.
important
Yeah.
shows I've seen in a long time.
I'm not fans of some of those guys these days, but again, good, solid reporting on and conversation about the topic. More than anything else, good conversation about the topic. And again, like I don't. Richard made a lot of defeatist, accurate kind of observations. Like we painted to your point, like we've painted ourselves, we collectively, this side of the industry, esports, has, whether you're a TO or a team owner, you have painted yourself into a corner with the money you have taken, whether it's VC money for the team ownership or TO side, because you're nowhere near revenue to profit. You know, you're nowhere near breaking even with this VC. So you keep buying more shit, you keep doing more shit with your VC, but you're not getting closer to profitability. Same thing with TOs, right? You get bought, you take MTG's money, you try to work on that. Nope. Lose money. They spun you. They made bank on you, ESL. Like they are laughing all the way to the bank now, because they're done with you, right? And now, like we always joke about, oh, I like my new evil warlords, whatever meme you want to insert as your evil warlord. Well, they're fucking really here now, right? Whether it's China with your game dev, and your TO, Riot is their own TO, or ESL. And again, I don't really know how pissed off I am yet. Like, am I not going to watch ESL shit? And I joked that Jason and I would still take their money to do production because we have employees.
Sure.
But and where do you? It's easy to draw the line. If you can afford to, right? And it's easy to draw the line, to your point, if you're a fan sitting at home and all you do is ingest free content. Sure, you have to pay for your internet and you have a computer you turn on, but you're not paying ESL other than your eyeballs. Your eyeballs do have a price. We should acknowledge that your viewership alone is what also gets sold. So, but you're not buying anything, extra on top of that. And I don't know where we as humans draw the line on where our, because like this phone is made by some fucked up people that do some fucked up shit in some fucked up countries to get all the product inside here. Do I not use a phone? This laptop, this fucking camera, and I'm not trying to be facetious or sarcastic, but to each their own, where do you draw the line? But it's really easy, like, because, Frankie got a bunch of shit called a hypocrite, like, hours within the fucking announcement because she hadn't denounced it because she denounced Nom right away, right? But all these fuckers are all sitting there with all their fucking blood. We're all stained in a way, I guess, is what I'm saying, unless you live in the woods. But if you live in the woods, you're not watching me right now. And if you're watching me right now, you got something in your world that is probably made in some fucked up factory by some fucked up kid. What about the shoes you're wearing? So this is obviously cut and dry, right? This is where it maybe does get easier. We know this money comes straight from this country, and this country does X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's easier than the phone. Maybe it's not so hard, Scott. And again, Riot is one step away from Tencent, who is one step away from the CCP, right? So I don't know, man.
There's CCP people on the fucking board of Tencent. Like it's just not that far removed. And I don't think I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm trying to sit here and say, you guys have to understand that this is the reality of our industry. Like nobody that gets paid in esports has clean hands. And this is a quote from Richard, and it's just so fucking perfect. And what he said is the only thing that stands between you and being rich in esports is your principles. And he's dead right. I mean, I saw someone, and I won't mention their name because I think they probably got a bit of flack for this, but they work on esports. They work on stuff that ESL's done and other stuff in the scene. They said, I am now no longer going to work with ESL. They're an observer.
Yeah,
I'm not going to work with ESL. I'm just going to stick with working on Valorant. And immediately everyone went like, hang on.
Yeah.
This is they are. This is. I mean, it's not performative because, like, if you treat this in good faith, you assume the person is trying to make a stand and trying to make a statement and do something that might not be easy. But you're out of the frying pan and into the fire because you want to work in Valorant, which is a Riot product, which has literal members of the CCP on the fucking on the board. Where can you make money in esports that isn't tainted? I'll tell you. You make your own shit. You go freelance. You don't take money from big corporations, but in reality, you don't get paid for a hell of a long time at the very least. And I think it's just sad that this is what our industry has to do in order to survive, because it is filled with unsustainable products, with revenue streams that are non-existent or insufficient. And again, I like to quote Ryan Fairchild, he basically said, esports is a marketing endeavor.
Yep.
It in and of itself is not like, you should not look at esports as something that it is trying to break even itself, because it doesn't. It can't right now because we don't monetize. It's just a spend. Where do we get the fucking money back? Concessions, jersey sales? No. Broadcast rights are how entertainment products make money. We can't sell those because there is a live streaming monopoly, and you, the people, by and large, are unwilling to pay for this content.
Yeah.
You have been getting this content for free for years, and I've seen you all on Twitter. If I have to pay for Counter-Strike, I'm just not watching it. I hate to say it. You are part of the problem. And you need to understand that your unwillingness to pay for this content that you previously enjoyed for free is what is forcing the industry in a large way to seek this VC money from bad actors in order to survive. It is, I'm afraid, as simple as that.
Yeah, and I think where this this is a done deal. So like we've all been lately. You can get a lot done with public outcry, right? Whether it's an esport thing or a cultural thing, you get a lot of wind behind you on social. You can get something tweaked. Again, the nom for LEC, that sponsorship for LEC and Blast went away due to public outrage. This one ain't going nowhere, right? Too late. Done deal. Over. So, in this new world order, where ESL already had a lock into the calendar. I won't use the word monopoly in Counter-Strike because that only you can't really. Riot can have a monopoly in Valorant. Valve would decide who does or doesn't have a monopoly in that game. Now they have a virtual, realistic monopoly now, especially with them and FACEIT. And if Blast is involved in that any way, shape, or form, Blast already hires FACEIT to do back-end stuff for them. So needless to say, ESL has strengthened their monopolistic position in the Counter-Strike ecosystem. No doubt about it. A true monopoly would only exist if Valve decided that the only people who could have a license was them. That might come, that might not come. Valve could also, I was joking with Jason, like, what if Valve just went, fuck it. Hey, Ralph, we're not giving you a Counter-Strike license. Why'd you sell, asshole? And hung up on him. Went, because, again, what breaks a business model in esports is the IP owner that you've built on top of saying you can't play in their sandbox anymore. ESL and FACEIT own nothing. Everything they own is built on, I mean, don't get me wrong, they own shit. But everything is built on someone else's IP. Valve could tell FACEIT, you can't run your very popular $23 million matchmaking program anymore with our game. You're done. They could say to ESL, you're not getting any more fucking tournament licenses. You're fucking done. That kills this investment. Because, yes, while FACEIT...
Valve okayed this.
Oh, yeah. I'm not,
this.
it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to fucking... I'm just saying, you want a monopoly, you want to try to end this, that's who has to end it. Right?
Sure.
The people whose IP they use. Because FACEIT also has 10 different games. I can go pub Counter-Strike. I can do Dota on their platform. I can do League of Legends on their platform. They have shitloads of game on their platform, right? And ESL runs shitloads of tournaments for shitloads of games, white label and not. Those game devs could be like, we're done with you. And they would tank this entire fucking thing. On the Counter-Strike side, they also, like, again, the Louvre agreement. Let's get back to the story, right? Because Jason's probably like, would you fuckers continue with the run of show? So let's get back to why this is also really, really important. ESL just didn't sell their tournaments to the fucking Saudi Arabian government. They sell tournaments that the top teams on the planets for the next many years have signed on to be part of. Yeah. This Louvre agreement has grown and gotten bigger since 2020. We're looking at a news post from 2020 announcing that the top teams have signed an agreement with ESL to be part of their pro leagues, to dip into their LAN events, again, let's have one big happy ecosystem together without being franchise teams. Since this announcement in 2020, they've added more teams, so the teams are even bigger. Now, what I haven't seen at all because this is what really gives ESL strength in Counter-Strike, because you can be a TO, but if the teams don't bring the team, if they don't come to your event, it doesn't matter what you're fucking throwing. Ask Flashpoint how throwing a good looking event is like when nobody of note team-wise shows up, or not enough teams, right? You can have a great fucking thing, but if the pros, if tier 1 don't show up, it doesn't matter how nice you make your broadcast, right? And how engaging it is, all those good things they try to do, doesn't matter. So this absolutely is part of the agreement that ESL would go to the PIF and go, this is what's in our pocket. Not only do we own Counter-Strike's tournament, we have Cologne, we have all this stuff. We have the Pro League, we have this Louvre agreement, we have all these teams. Let me show you the socials of G2 and all these teams that have signed up, right? So this is what I'm interested in. Again, when we went to press, I hadn't seen any press, as in going live on the show. I had not seen any team owner say anything about this that is part of the Louvre agreement. I'm really interested in what Carlos has to say, and I love you, Carlos, but you came down hard on the LEC thing, right? And I'm not saying you have to come down hard. And again, you might have had no choice in this either, but again, when you speak about one thing and you're also part, like Frankie felt she had to say something because she said something. Are you going to say something? Because you were very outspoken about the LEC taking that money, right? And now you're part of a company. Your agreement is with the Saudi Arabian government now, in a way. How do you feel about that, right? And maybe they've started to say some stuff. I don't know if they have, though, press release wise. And maybe they didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's been plenty of time for this. This announcement came out like quite a few days ago, and I think the first thing I've really seen about it was the Four Horsemen. I think I'm quoting Richard again. I mean, look, sorry, mate. Listen, I'm reusing your lines, but he said like, yeah, when you speak out about one thing, you have to speak out about all of them. Otherwise, the people that previously supported you will come for you, and that's what people did with Frankie. And then she's, I don't really know what the sum and total of her Medium post was, but it seems like she was taking a step back, which is fair because she's got a newborn, and that's just insane. Like, I don't know how people. I don't know. I took a step back when I had a newborn. Like, I wasn't able to do anything at all, and I was dad, for Christ's sake. I think there is an expectation that more people will speak out about this, but I'm not sitting here being like, oh yeah, well, if this doesn't get fixed, I'll go elsewhere, because no matter where I go, it's like this money is tainted. Like, and unfortunately, the people casting LEC are being funded by, a company that is owned by Tencent anyway. So like, I'm glad they stood up for this, but there's just a whole other host of issues. And when, like, where does it end? Where do you put a stop to? It's not even grandstanding. I truly believe these people are standing up for these issues in good faith, but I feel a little sick because I don't really see how those of us that make livings and feed our families from these spaces are supposed to do it any differently. What are we going to do? Are we going to proclaim as we're sucked down into the fucking, quicksand? Are we going to pontificate while we stand on the deck of the sinking ship? Like, genuinely, it causes me some anguish because this is the reality of our industry. And I think, look, very quickly, great point was made by Master Dalk, I think, in the chat, who pointed out that like the Formula One is already completely like this. Like, this happens all through sports, and people had so this is not new. It might be sort of new-ish for us, as now we're really thinking about it for the first time, some of us, but the entertainment industry is tainted, and those that exist in this space have to find a way to be okay with that. And it's hard. I think about it all the time right now, Scott. I don't really know.
Yeah. And again, I don't expect Carlos to necessarily do anything, but he was one of the ones that used his voice to say, hey, LEC, not a good call on this sponsorship. Again, he's a minor, even in the big picture, the G2 agreement as part of the Louvre, a part of Counter-Strike, a part of ESL, a part of what they bought is a small thing, but it is a big thing to us, right? Because he's part of us. And so, and again, maybe they protested. Maybe they didn't know till we found out because it had to be hush hush and loose lips sink ships. And maybe Carlos found out when we did. I have imagined with the level of this deal of the Louvre agreement, there were some meetings, and it might have been a meeting like, hey man, this is what we're doing. You can't stop it. But maybe they were warned. But I if Frankie, if one single person that does hosting and other casters who are freelancers who are being put under the fucking microscope, those that said shit and those that didn't, are being asked, hey, are you going to work for these guys? Are you going to work for these guys? These multi-million-dollar teams need to at least be in the conversation about how do they feel about this change in their partner, right? Their partner is now the Saudi Arabian government. How do they feel about it? Maybe they're excited because, again...
I want us to talk about it. We need to talk about this more, Scott, because the illness that is slowly killing our industry is our inability to make money, I think, without going to these bodies. And you know what we're doing? We are giving away our independence. And the endemics are giving away our own industry to non-endemics. Like, fucking hell, look how corporatized the industry is becoming.
But
you know what I mean?
To your point,
and
if
in some
sports,
ways it's been better,
but if
but
sports
in some ways
gave
it's
it
been
away,
worse.
if the people that actually got it right, sports that actually makes money, if they've given it away, what chance do we have to do it a different way? What are we going to find that they couldn't find?
know.
If Manchester, now it's Newcastle, right? Newcastle's owned by the same fund.
Yeah, Newcastle
right?
United.
So,
Same fund.
So I again, like the scary part about it is we always like we're just like sports. We're just like sports. Although you've made some very big differences where we financially are not like sports, but we've always aimed for that. So if sports is taking this money, and I just remember like when I used to get fucking shit. I can't believe you sell Monster Energy, EG's the devil. How dare you sell energy drinks to kids? You fuckers! I lost all my respect for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now how do you feel, Mr. Monster Hater? Jesus, they look like fucking...
I mean, they probably have long since moved on, but you
no,
know
they
what,
still
Scott?
watch. No, they still watch. They
at the
bought
end of the day,
you know, they never went anywhere. They just like to bitch, right?
I know you're not sure how to feel. I think I know how I feel now, and I think someone in chat, I think you do a bit of nose, put this really well. I am mourning the ideals that are dead, that were not dead when I first came into esports. I think, and that could be just as much my fault as anyone else's. But I am mourning the idealism that I walked into esports with, right? The passion, the stories, the players, the trials and tribulations, the grassroots nature, the labor of love that our industry was, I think is gone. And I honestly think it's long gone. And I just didn't know. And I've been fucking, you know, just kind of ignorant of it the whole time. It's a fucking tough pill to swallow because, you know, we all did this because we wanted to feel like we were part of something that meant something, that was important, that wasn't just fake and propped up and a way for people to wash their dirty laundry, you know what I mean? But that is what it is, like any other entertainment product. And yeah, I had to accept that. I've just moved on with my life and you know, but I'm more than that, man. I really do. I think Pansy tweeted something that was similar to that as well.
That's very similar.
This is the way. I mean, this might not have always been the way things had to be, but it is now. I definitely think we painted ourselves into this corner.
Yep.
And I don't know where we go from here. I don't know if I'm going to be part of it in the longer term, but for now I need to be because I need to feed my fucking son and partner. So it is what it is, man. But it is devastating. I'm devastated.
Yeah, and I think for me, like the end of innocence happened years ago for me when I got into helping players and contracts and quitting EG because of, again, just this team side of it and not really liking it anymore and seeing, like, once you start peeling that, I mean, you know, again, you've seen behind the curtain, right? Once you start doing that, so these illusions have slowly gone away from me on, like, what I hoped would build and what was really starting to be built.
I thought you were just jaded, Scott, but you're not. You just see things for how they are.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, I thought Richard was jaded, you know, but maybe he's the only one, like maybe he's one of the few people that are really seeing this whole situation for what it was before the rest of us fucking cotton onto it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would never have guessed that ESL would get bought like this, but the spend, the spectacle that is expected because of what we all expect from what a Cologne needs to look like or any big TO show, like what we demand when we tune in to watch a show now costs so much fucking money.
Yeah, all without paying a fucking cent.
Like, you know, and it's just never been monetized. What's happened is we had this, we'll build it. If we build it, they'll come. If we build it, we'll come. If we spend, they'll come. Well, they came, but it's not the fucking people we wanted to come.
Yeah.
We rolled out the carpet and they showed up. And they also offered way more money. ESL is not worth $1 billion. FACEIT is not worth $500 million. So they just went, we're writing you a fucking check. We're done with this fucking, right? They're just not worth that. They're not valued that.
I guarantee you.
know,
I mean, how much did MTG buy ESL for? $70 million,
oh yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah. They are loving what they got paid because again, a fund like
Yeah,
this
it was
has
like
to
$80 million.
overpay.
I remember this. This wasn't even that long ago that they bought ESL. I mean, they would have made. I mean, they've made over 10x.
Oh yeah.
I mean, okay. Well, technically, there's with the merger. I mean, that's astounding. I know that MTG when they bought ESL first, they made some big changes. The first one started with like a lot of these like really inefficient business things, like having casters full time in the building, paying us a full-time salary and having us do like 2 shows a week. That was the only thing that allowed me to become the caster I am today. But I recognize that it's an awful business sense to have that existing, and it will never exist again unless it's funded by some initiative. It was like Charles Xavier's Academy for the Gifted. It really was. And then they cut out a lot of like things they didn't need, and they kind of restructured ESL's approach. And but they've been trying to sell that company for a long time, and for them to make a 10x on it, on a company that I mean, I assume Scott probably doesn't break even at the best of times. I mean, ESL might have had some quarters where they broke even. Their revenues, I think, were quoted by Mick Adesanya on the Four Horsemen to be like 200K. Was it 200 million? Sorry, like good revenue. But again, there's like that doesn't take into account what their profits actually are. So I think it's exorbitant amount to spend on these 2 properties, and MTG got out like fucking bandits, man.
Well, here's my I think my wrap up on this topic is, did we do this? I was telling Jason this yesterday. I'm like, did we do this to ourselves? We collectively, those of us that, because I tweeted at Blast saying, hey, can you just at least say something? Because they spent like 10 days not saying a damn word. And I wasn't necessarily tweeting them about human outrage, but more like, can you just fucking make a statement about what you are going to do about this? LEC has done their thing. Put your tinfoil hat on over there for a second. So the outrage happens over Blast and happens over LEC. That Blast deal was probably stupid amounts of money, because Blast even said it was stupid amounts of money. It really hurts us to not do this, but we're not going to take their money. So that might even have been an ownership by play disguised as a sponsorship or the start of something. Then our friends in Saudi Arabia went back and went, those motherfuckers, geez, wow, why are they so mad? How do we get away? Who's Blast's competitor? Who runs, and they just fucking decided, we won't try to sponsor shit because we'll constantly get pushback. Why don't we just buy their shit? Because you can't push back if we own it. And they decided to buy Blast's competitor, ESL. And FACEIT. Because FACEIT's got a badass platform.
So
it's our fault.
Not bad. It's our fault. I will say they can push back. I mean, like, I have to believe to some degree what Mick was saying, that, that the employees, if they get anything foisted on them, make it a shoe and make sure someone gets a screenshot. If these policies, these initiatives from Saudi Arabia get foisted onto the broadcast, and I have the faith that I have remaining would tell me that there would be significant pushback internally, and a lot of value from Savvy's investment would be lost as a result of the blowback of this behavior. But there's no guarantee of this. It's the principle of it, though, I think that is more distressing than the actual, the material possibility of policy from an Islamic nation sort of being pushed into our esports space. And yeah, I think you put a cap on it really well. I just want to say that, like, I'm sad about it. I'm not going to sanctimoniously denounce anybody, because we're all doing this. Like, most of us are doing this, and a few people that aren't doing this are either pure consumers of esports, in which way you're still culpable now, and the true freelancers that are able to make their own money through their own content, and kudos to them. Hopefully they can still fight to whatever degree they can. I'll fight to what degree I can. God knows how many times I might have almost been fired saying what I say, but I'm no better than anyone at ESL. And in many ways, the people at ESL, they made me the caster that I am. And I can't sit here in good conscience and call them out when I take money from a fucking corrupt company as well. So it's just sad that it has to happen. And yeah, so I really hope that we can find a way to create sustainable initiatives in esports. And I hope, and I'm sorry to Twitch staff that may be watching this, I do hope you have a competitor. I hope that you and YouTube or whoever it is will get to a place where you feel like you want to actually pay to get these esports products on your platform, as opposed to being like, huh, where the fuck else are you going to go? Of course you're going to do it here. I understand that'll affect your bottom line and your business model, but that's, that's where I would hope our industry can evolve to get to. It will bluntly mean that I get paid more as a result of that, hopefully. And that would be nice, but it's not the point. The point is that I want esports to be a closed circuit, sustainable, not just an expenditure to fucking push a game, because frankly, it's not even an effective marketing tool for a lot of video games. There are better ones,
Yeah.
like getting people to fucking cosplay as League of Legends characters. So esports had better find out what it's supposed to be doing, what its function's supposed to be, and I hope we find a way to create a sustainable set of products. Otherwise, this won't get any better. It'll only get worse. And that's all I got to say on that, Scott.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Yeah. Moment of silence for what we knew as.
For my conscience, sure.